Hi there, fight fans. My name is Kian Lang, and I'm very happy to say that I'm today joined by UFC lightweight Mason Jones. Mason, how are we doing today, brother?
Really good. And we had a little bit of a me messing around moment trying to get this interview sorted, but I do appreciate you sticking with it and finally getting it sorted.
I appreciate you being here today, man. It means a lot. So thank you very much. Obviously, we last saw you about a month ago now, UFC Des Moines. First of all, how was that experience for you going out to America and getting to experience that new place, I imagine? And how was the fight and the performance against Jeremy Stevens?
Yeah, I fought in the States. That'll be my fourth fight, but I've never actually fought with a hostile crowd before. So it was a wild experience. Like 16,500 people booing. Like I watched it back. You can hear it a little bit in the TV, but you don't actually get a proper sort of account for how loud everyone was. So for me, it was a crazy experience. And going out there and fighting a legend like I did in Jeremy Stevens and putting on the performance I did. Obviously, 2 rounds of really good action and a third round where I did look for a finish. I did, even though I did sit in him a little bit. But it was a good win in my book.
I think it was very interesting watching the fight because as a fan, it almost felt like at times you knew you had to kind of stay on the outside and you were piecing him up from there. But it almost seemed like the fighter and you wanted to go in it and have that brawl and almost give the fans the show. Was it sometimes difficult to maintain your range in there?
Uh, yes and no. It was mainly the calf kicks. We had an old game plan that we put in place, and I stuck to about 80% of it. The main thing I didn't do is we had literally procedures in place to deal with the calf kicks. My corner literally said about it, like, you need to stop them, go back to the plan. Everything else was falling in place lovely. First round, I felt really clean. I had the cleaner work. I was picking him up. And to be fair, I think I dominated, very clearly dominated round one. And then round two, the legs started to sort of slow me down a little bit, and I started to sort of wear it a little bit. And then I sat in that zone and I dirty boxed him a little bit too much, which is what my coaches were saying not to do. Obviously, with his background, what he's been doing the last few years, him being a power puncher and different things, I got a little bit overconfident in sort of being forced into that zone. I still think I more than held an account for myself, but it wasn't the sort of performance I wanted to give. I wanted to go out there and I wanted to be pristine, clean. I think if I had actually stuck fully to the game plan, I think I probably could have finished him in within the three. By the time he got to the second round, then I was starting to wear a little bit. I had a little break in the top of my nose, I think, and the nerve of my leg was starting to go. So by the third round, my coach was like, "Listen, just take him down and keep him down. Like you've done enough." And I was like, "Yeah, okay."
And that third round, I mean, you dominated from start to finish. The grappling was superb. Was it pleasing for you? I know you want to go out there and have a finish, but was it pleasing to you to be able to show your full arsenal of mixed martial arts skills? I mean, we saw some of the strikes you threw. I mean, 99% of fighters would go down to it. It just so happens that Jeremy Stevens isn't 99% of fighters.
If I had subbed him, yes, I would have really said I could have showed my complete game. Um, like I think the third round just sort of proved the point that, and it is the point, I could have gone out in round one and done that, like easily done that. I just didn't want to. I should have got the finish. I was quite lazy in a few of the wrestling exchanges. More so, we had this conversation afterwards with my jiu-jitsu coach. He was like, "Why didn't you push it more?" I was like, "Because he didn't do anything." I sat in the Kimura, I locked it in, and he locked his hands together. And I should have really pushed hard to separate before he proper locked in. Then he put his leg over the top, and I should have switched over the top, switched down, gone belly down, switched over the leg, triangled the head of my legs, and then started to apply. Like I know what I'm doing. I'm coming up to get but December I should get my second dan, BJJ. But it was just he didn't move. So I was like, well, I'll just keep pulling on his arm. If he's not going to do anything, why would I move when I'm in top position? Whereas if I went belly down, locked the head, he could have reversed, he could have sat out. There's a lot of things I could have forced a scramble. So I was like, I'll just sit here and keep pulling on his arm and his grip will go. And I was ripping and ripping and I couldn't quite get it out. And then I was like, oh, I'm waiting a little bit too long. And it's just the normal thoughts you have going through your head at that point.
And was there anything that surprised you about Jeremy in there? Obviously, like you say, we know about the dirty boxing and everything, but it seemed like that chin, it felt like it was going to go. And there were so many shots landed where it looked like he'd go and he just refused to go down.
Yeah. I honestly, sort of, we planned for that. Like I had no plans of TKOing him. Obviously I would love to have hit him and knocked him out, but we sort of had a realistic view that if we'd caught him, I managed to even rock him hard because I caught him with a lovely body shot. I rocked him a little bit with a spin hook kick. I hit a lovely shot at one point with the elbow, which didn't sort of seem to rock him like the spin hook kick did, but it hurt him. And we knew, like, I watched his fights. I watched his fight against Calvin Kattar, which I thought was a little bit of an early stoppage. Calvin did really good work, dropped him, but I don't think he should have really been stopped. And then you look at his fight against Yair Rodriguez. Yair hit him with about 400 shots after rocking him. And he literally just recovered and chased Yair for the next round. So I always knew he had a really good chin. I knew he was tough. I knew he was game. You know all these things. I just should have finished him.
And going into the fight, knowing all that and knowing that it's a hometown guy, and I assume you knew the atmosphere was going to be what it was. How was it dealing with that pressure mentally, knowing that you're going to be the antagonist of the crowd, really?
I think it made it easier, to be honest. It was my return to the UFC against someone who's had over 20 knockouts. He's an old vet, like obviously older. He was 9 years older than me, or he would have been a week after the fight. But again, I knew exactly what I was coming into when I went into it. And warm up, I felt good. My weight cut, my prep, my rehydration all went perfect, and I felt really good. But you still have those. Needs to be perfect. This is your return now after the first four. This needs to be perfect. And then by the time I went to walk and they started booing. It was like taking a weight off my shoulders, because I said this before. They all expected me to lose. There was people who had money on Jeremy knocking me out because it was such massive odds that if he knocked me out, it was a massive payday. Like I think it was plus 900 to knock me out. So, and that was the only thing he was going to beat me. That was the only way. There was no way he would beat me to a decision. There's no way he was going to out-wrestle me. There's no way he could have subbed me. There was just no way. So it just took all the stress off. And I was just like, oh, there we go. Let's just go out there and have a bit of fun. And I think you've seen now in my performance, like I'm still hypercritical on what I did. I stopped what I was doing in the first round when my legs started to get compromised. I could have dealt with that better. There was other things I could have thrown. I think I should have been a little bit heavier on the teep. A couple of my combos could have ended with another kick, and just a lot of things that you'll see improved. And like I said, still like 20% of what I can do, maybe 30%. Like I'm still leagues and leagues better than that. Like me at my best, I would have knocked Jeremy out within the 5.
I think it's incredible that's only 20, 30%. I thought it was a really impressive performance and definitely fight of the night, in my opinion. I don't know if you got a bonus, but I thought you definitely should have.
I think the main thing was because there was so many high sort of very good finishes on the night. If I'd kept it exciting in the third, they said they would have paid out. And if I got that finish, they would have given me a bonus. But they said because the third round went the way it did, and I eased out and controlled him for the third instead of looking for the finish and hunting for it, they didn't give me a bonus. So I'm still hoping that I can still get a bonus. You never know. Sometimes Dana gives them out, but I don't think so at this point.
And obviously, you mentioned before, this is your second time in the UFC. I mean, first time round, the record was what the record was, but you faced some serious fighters. I mean, the likes of David Onama, who's ranked now. We saw Ludovic Klein, who obviously had his fight against Gamrot last weekend. Going back to Cage Warriors and then ripping off that win streak like you did, how much help did that give you rebuilding your confidence and rebuilding yourself for this second time round?
Well, we fought our last fight in the contract out against Ludwig Klein. I took that on 10 days' notice. It's not an excuse. It just is what it is. I went out there and I fought a stupid fight. If I'd fought smart fight, I could have done to him what Gamrot did to him. This is as easy as that. I chose to go back to Cage Warriors. Like we sat down and they were interested in sort of the money wasn't really there, and there's a couple other things, and I wasn't happy with what I'd done. I was going through some stuff, and I literally just said, "Look," I said, I need a bit of a break. I still got management, and they was like, "Look, it's no problem, take a break." I eased out, and then I got offered a few things. I've said before, like the Ultimate Fighter, I got offered, and a couple of different things, and it was I went through injuries and a couple of different things, and then I just started rebuilding. Cage Warriors give me a fight in Rome, then Dublin, then San Diego. Then I had a UFC offer again. My visa, it was just at the time they were struggling to get visas. And there was a whole delay with the visa process. And then I fought in Manchester. I had another UFC offer for short notice I was ready for. Then that sort of fell through. Then I had another UFC offer that fell through. And then I had another UFC offer that I actually signed. I signed everything, got my multi-fight signed, my contract signed, everything was ready, and that was on 5 days. And the opponent declined. So the UFC said they would honor my contract because they didn't need to, because the whole terms and conditions on the contract were if I didn't fight on that fight card, then the multi-fight was expired. So they honored the contract, and I was waiting for an opponent, and then they knew I was ready, and then obviously I got offered Jeremy, and well, we got to do what we did.
Yeah, it's hard to say no to a guy like Jeremy Stephens, I assume. Looking forward, I've seen on your Instagram, it's made me quite excited as someone with tickets to Abu Dhabi that you are trying to get on that card, hoping to get on that card. Is there any updates on that or any names in particular that you'd like to face?
At this point, there's no names I'd like to fight. I know there's been a couple people calling me out. I have a few UFC vets and other people outside the UFC calling me out for a fight. And again, I'm more than interested in any of these fights. But at the moment, I'm going to do the smartest thing I can possible and just literally just take what I can get. I have said in posts I put on my Instagram as well that I'd happily fight the worst UFC lightweight they've got on the roster, and anyone I can bury in one would be fantastic. Because it's 5 fights to a ranked opponent in lightweight. It's 5 fights. So for me, I've done one. A nice easy fight would be good, and then obviously you're going to start fighting in savages. Like I already had a tough first fight in Jeremy. The next fight's going to be tough. The one after that's going to be tough. They're all tough. So I'm more than keen to fight on July 26th. I've started camp. I'm literally going running straight after this now, just to keep my weight moving the right way. That'll be. I got a little bit more work to do, and I would have done 3 sessions a day. So I'm active. I'm pressing. I start sparring heavily the next few weeks, and I'm more than ready. So hopefully they can find me an opponent. They can find me a space on July 26th in Abu Dhabi, and I go out there. Even if I'm more than happy to do the first fight in the prelims. More than happy. Get me done early. Get me home. So it'd be nice.
Selfishly, I really hope it happens, man. As someone who's going, that would be really cool for myself. Looking at the state of the division now, obviously we've got a vacant belt with Topuria and Oliveira facing off. And it's such a stacked division. I mean, it always has been at 155 pounds. Do you ever think to yourself about the possibilities of fighting some of these top guys like a Justin Gaethje, a Dan Hooker, Saryuki, and some of these big names that we've got at lightweight?
Absolutely. I've broken down and game plan for every single fighter in the top 15. Easy enough. There's some fights that are easier than others, but none of them are easy to match. None of them at all.
Yeah. And I can't wait to see what's next for you, whoever it is. I think you're one of the top guys in this division. I think it's only a matter of time before the world sees that as well. So thank you very much for joining me today. And thanks very much for your time, brother.
I appreciate it. And keep an eye out on my socials, because you never know. Fingers crossed I get announced that I am fighting on this soon. I would love that. Like I said, fingers crossed, still got time.
Hopefully. That would be great. Thanks very much for your time today, man.